What's up, guys? Welcome to the Do It Movement podcast. This is your host, Martine Jackson, and I've built my 6-figure, soon to be 7-figure, massive real estate business through commercial investing, rental investing, and wholesaling in Virginia. After college, I worked a series of jobs that I absolutely hated and decided to take life into my own hands. What my journey has shown me is one very important thing. Knowledge is not power. Applied knowledge is power. Each week, I bring you a powerful guest or tip to unravel the real estate game, and my challenge to you is that you take some of that knowledge and do something with it. The Do It movement is here to help you create the life you desire through real estate. Now let's get to it. Hello today, Do It movement listeners. This is your host, Martine Jackson. Today we have the one, the only, Brayand Ponciano. What's up, BP? How you doing?
I am fucking amazing. How you doing, Martine?
I'm good. I'm glad to have you back on the podcast. I like how real you keep it.
I appreciate that. I like how real I keep it.
I like how real you keep it. And but for the folks that don't know who you are, just give like a little brief intro for yourself. I know you were on the podcast last season. Last season we didn't have any videos. So this season they get to see your beautiful face.
Yeah, this time you get to see my pretty face, man.
Right.
You can see bracelets that I'm wearing that I just got back from Thailand. I literally just came back from Thailand like a week ago. So as she said, my name is Brayand Ponciano. Most people know me as BP. I am a seasoned real estate investor, have been in real estate for 15 years. I've recently switched what I do from coaching and stuff. I stopped teaching real estate. I stopped speaking real estate, and I just mainly go into mindset. However, I've wholesaled, I've fixed and flipped, I've bought and hold, I've bought multifamilies. I'm currently moving into the note space, and me and my business partner, Cashflow Chris Ontiveros, we're currently doing new builds. So we're actually building we're building 12 houses right now. He's got a 64 unit apartment complex that we're about to build on. And then he just locked up like 2 acres of land that he's looking to build like 25 more houses on. So yeah, we've been in this thing for a long time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the last time that you were on the podcast, you guys were focusing a lot on multifamily, doing a lot of value add opportunities. I remember you mentioning how you got people to either get out or pay their rent.
Yes, and that's still my job. One of the things when you are working in a business environment is you have to know your role and you have to know what you're good at. And, Chris is a nice guy, but a nice guy in this industry, particularly this side of this industry, which is meaning dealing with tenants, they get walked all over. Every fucking tenant is going to have some stupid horseshit as excuse as to why they can't pay their rent on time, why they need an extra thing, why they do this, why blah, 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 while they can still pay their cell phone, why they're still putting gas in their car, while they're still paying a fucking $600 bill because they want to be driving a fucking Lexus or some stupid shit like that.
Right.
But somehow they can't pay your rent, which should be the most important thing. Right. So after, like 6 months of Chris just getting on my nerves because he kept on giving people's chances. Or, it's all right, just pay us $100 next week or whatever. Dude, I was like, get the fuck out of the way. I need to come in here, and I didn't take advantage of it because unfortunately, and I hope this goes out for every single one of you guys that is either holding rentals or is looking to move into rentals. Fuck you, pay me. And I know that sounds fucked up. Especially for people like us that we didn't grow up with money. So we were in that position. We were, behind on rent sometimes. We were like, oh, that person's cool because they work with me. Unfortunately, I work with investors. I owe investors money every single month. If you let me borrow money, I'm paying you money every single month. Where the fuck do you think that money comes from? I'm not pulling this shit out of my ass.
Right.
That means that if the tenants don't pay me, then I can't pay my investors.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't care what their excuses are. Like, I really don't care. And I've heard them all, and I know the sickness and the this and my cousin and my sister and my brother and my uncle and my job and my hours. I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
You pay me, and if you can't, get the hell out. And unfortunately, you have to be that way, because especially when it comes to rent, you give these people an inch and they'll take a mile.
That's true.
Then what happens is that person takes a mile. Then the neighbor's like, well, why the fuck am I paying on time? All of a sudden, the neighbor starts having car problems, and then the other neighbor, and then before the whole apartment complex is paying whenever the fuck they want to, whatever the fuck they want to, and you're kind of stuck there like, oh, come on, guys, can you like please pay me? Fuck you.
Right. So we have more of a PG version over here. No pay, no stay.
Yeah, whatever. Like whatever way works for you. It doesn't matter. The concept is still the same. You don't cut any slack whatsoever. Because if you cut any slack, then all of a sudden people are going to take advantage of that. One of the best things that happened to me was my apartment complex that I own in Arkansas. This lady who was there when we first bought the building, she thought that because she had spoken to me personally, somehow she had some special advantage, right? She stopped paying her rent. I didn't notice because Chris, jackass, was giving her chances, you know. So when I finally found out, I said, oh, hell no, this is not what we're doing. Anyway, the best thing that happened to me is that she did not listen to me when we served her. She did not listen to me when we requested her to go to court. So the sheriff had to come to her freaking place and drag her the hell out of my house. And I hoped and prayed, and I prayed to baby Jesus and baby Buddha that she got dragged out right at like 6 p.m. when everybody was home. Because I wanted everybody else to see that.
Right.
I wanted people to know, hey, this guy will evict you over $100. It doesn't matter. Oh, he will evict you over late fees. It doesn't really matter what you say or do, like he will evict you. And unfortunately, as I said, whether you say it the way that I say it, whether you say it the way that you say it, you have to be that firm, because they will walk all over you. So that's one of my responsibilities in this company. The other responsibility is having the tough conversations when we have to let go of a maintenance person, when we have to let go of a property manager, when we have to let go of a fucking investor. You know what, man? We can't deal with it. Guess who gets to do that?
He gives you all the dirty jobs.
It's okay. You know what? And I would take that all day, because I am much better at this than he is. He does all the paperwork, which I hate doing paperwork. Like, you want to put me to sleep? Put a stack of paperwork on my desk. That shit is never gonna get done, and I'm gonna fall asleep.
It sounds like a match made in heaven, because you like to do the things he doesn't, and vice versa for him.
And you know what? We really didn't plan on talking about partnership, but I do want to touch on that point. Most people fuck up when it comes to partnerships because they partner with somebody that's like them.
Right.
You know, I'm a hustler, you're a hustler, let's go hustle together. The problem with it is that you amplify your strengths, but you also amplify your weaknesses. So as a visionary, I have certain things, like I love to strategize and I love to think, and I can talk the shit out of anybody and I can work these scenarios, but I hate doing all the medial stuff. I hate paying the bills. I hate answering the calls. I hate even following up. Like I might meet you and say, hey, you're interested, you got some money to invest. Great. You say, send me some information. Literally, it's clicking a button and I don't want to fucking do it. So you have to find somebody that's not like you, that's the complete opposite of you, that literally their strengths are your weaknesses and vice versa, because that's how you're able to build a successful partnership. If not, what's going to happen, and I've seen it happen over and over and over again, people partner up with somebody that's just like them, and then they just amplify their weaknesses. So if you're disorganized, guess what? Your partner's going to be disorganized, and then if they're disorganized, then your whole business is going to be disorganized.
Right. It
So
kind of defeats the purpose.
If you're going to partner up with somebody, make sure that you're on polar opposites with the same goals, by the way.
Right. Because it kind of defeats the purpose of it. And I know we weren't supposed to be talking about partnerships. So let's talk about your new podcast that you got coming up about your mindset. I'm going to beep when I say it.
Yes, it's okay. So the name of the podcast is called Unfuck Your Mindset. It's supposed to be launching here January 1st or somewhere in the first week of January.
Okay.
Depending on how long it takes for iTunes to approve it. Anyway, I hired a coach who's walking me through this whole scenario. So we've already recorded a few episodes, and it's going to be launching every single Monday. We call it Mindset Monday. It's something that I've been doing for a while now. So what happened is that you look at me, and if you know my story, you know that I grew up in the streets of LA. You know that I grew up in gang culture, even though I wasn't a gang member. I just grew up around gang culture. I started with nothing. My parents were immigrants from Guatemala. So when people look at me and then they see what I've been able to achieve, they always, and I'm sure it happens to you all the time. People contact me and say, hey, man, I see you doing big things. I want to get into the game. Right. Now, you know as well as I know that most of those fucking people are completely fucking full of shit. Now, I know that we love our people. I know that we want to see them do good. But these motherfuckers are their worst enemy. Unfortunately, that doesn't just apply to our people. That applies to all people. So eventually I got tired of people wasting my time, and I started charging for coaching when it comes to real estate investing. I charge people, and I showed them how to go from being a wholesaler to a fix and flipper to eventually buying and holding. The big problem that I saw is that nobody was doing what the fuck they were supposed to do. Honestly, the dumbest students that I had the most success. Most of my smart students that were educated with a college degree and shit like that, they struggled so bad, so bad.
Right.
But my students that weren't educated, I mean, I had this one guy who his grammar was not good. His spelling was horrible. His attention was not good. His information retention was not good at all. Like absolutely not at all. And he was crushing it. And I had these other students that were engineers, and they were like, blah, 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 I don't get it.
Yeah,
so I started looking into that.
I've noticed, I want to bring something up on that point. I've noticed, like, just in sales in general, people that typically, just from a generalization standpoint, people that are a little less educated, they tend to do better because they do what you tell them to do. The other people, they overanalyze it. They say, oh, well, I mean, and you know, they try to say, oh, well, I got to do this and I got to do it this way when you told them how to do it already. But the other people, they're just going to go out and do it, which is something I've noticed too. So, and that's why they see success, because they're not questioning what you're telling them to do. It's already proven. Well, go ahead. I'll let you finish.
When you are dumb and you know that you are dumb, then you just will accept it. You say, well, I'm dumb. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I don't have any fucking education. I don't come from any money background. So if this guy tells me to jump, I'm going to fucking jump. And one of the things that I would do with my students a lot, which I then took into the mindset, but I used to, so you would come to me and say, hey, BP, I want you to coach me. I'd be like, great, go home, go watch The Karate Kid, and then call me tomorrow. And they were like, what the fuck is wrong with you, The Karate Kid? Now, the reason why I would use The Karate Kid was my teaching style was very similar to Mr. Miyagi. I'm going to have you do shit that doesn't seem like it's related to real estate, but at the end of the day, it's going to be completely related to real estate. Just like in the movie, he had him waxing and washing and painting and stuff. And he's like, this is horseshit. This got nothing to do with karate until Mr. Miyagi showed him, like, check this out, you know, block this, block that, whatever. So that's kind of my style. Even with that preface, I realized that these people weren't able to do shit, most of them, with my teachings. And I honestly felt bad. I felt like I was robbing them. And I know, because you know as well as I know, a lot of people that are coaches that have programs out there. I know most of them personally. And I also know that most of them really, really give out good information. Most of them open, they don't hold secrets. They open the books. They say, this is how we do it. This is where we do it. Like shit, most of them will even hold your hand if you pay them to. The problem is most of people don't have the right mindset to be able to do anything with that. Most people come from, I already know that. I've heard that before. Yeah, that sounds. So they take this. So I knew if I continue selling real estate courses and real estate programs, deep down inside, I was going to feel like a thief because I already know that there's a 95% chance that your ass, who just paid me, by the way, and I wasn't fucking cheap, you still weren't going to do the shit that I'm telling you to do. The shit that you look me right in the eye and you say, yep, I'm willing to do that. Here's my money. Here's thousands and thousands of dollars. Yep, I'm willing to do that.
Right.
And you still wouldn't do that.
Right.
And as I reverted back on my journey, I realized that the biggest piece of that puzzle was the mindset. This is why wholesaling I was successful. This is why fixing and flipping I was successful. This is what buying and holding I was successful. This is why in the multifamily aspect I was successful. This is now buying properties over in Ohio we're successful. It didn't matter what we got into because our mindset was right.
Right.
On the flip side of that, it didn't matter what I taught you because your mindset was wrong. So I could literally, I only took one-on-one students because I wanted to make sure that they got my attention and I was really focusing on what they needed in particular. Right. But you got them and you're walking them down with your hand and they're still fucking it up because their mindset was wrong. And that's when I realized this is what's missing from this industry.
Right. So with the title of your podcast, what are you hoping to accomplish with the podcast?
So the podcast is twofold. The podcast is a way to get people to first recognize that they have a fucked up mindset.
Right. Awareness.
The problem with most people, and we can attest this extra with our people. So our people will gladly brag about being broke. They'll like, it's almost like a badge of honor. I'm more broke than you are. Look at that. I'm more real than you are because I'm extra broke, right? So they'll admit that. And then when you say, hey, here's what you should do. Yeah, I know that. Hey, you know what? I do want to teach you. It's not that I want to keep this shit to myself. It's just that your mindset is just not in the position to accept. What the fuck are you talking about, man? You don't know me. My mindset is right. My mindset is good. It's people like, and you're like, what? Calm the fuck down.
Right.
I'm trying to help you. Right. So the first step is for people to even acknowledge and admit that they have a fucked up mindset. And the more successful people that I meet, the millionaires and billionaires that I have met, they all acknowledge that even at this point, they still have a fucked up mindset. Right. It's a never-ending battle with your mindset. So that's step number one. Step number two is to show people and teach them how to unfuck their mindset. And that's a big, big thing. So I need you to first understand that you have a fucked up mindset, and then we all have a fucked up mindset. Me pointing out that you have a fucked up mindset does not make me better than you because guess what? My mindset is also fucked up. I still struggle with things. Every single mentor that I has their limitations, and whatever limitation that is, it's all based on their mindset. Right. So I need you to acknowledge that, and then I'm going to show you what has worked for me, what I have done, and then I'm going to be bringing in guests where we're going to talk about them because just like your example earlier about the no pay no stay. Right. Well, some people might look at that and be like, oh, that's too soft. That's too nice. Right. Fuck you, pay me. Yeah, that sounds more up my alley. Both of us are saying the exact same thing. Right. It's just your experience might relate to somebody. I might have somebody you might be like, hey, I understand what she said it. I understand why, her analogy that she used, that makes a lot more 6 months, but somebody's just able to relate to you better. So I'm bringing in other guests from not only real estate, but a bunch of other industries because I network a lot. Right. And I actually don't really go to a lot of real estate conferences unless I'm speaking. But what I do go to is I go to these high-level networking events. So I know a lot of people from a lot of different industries that are on a lot of different levels, and I want to bring them in here to talk about their struggles and how they got over their mindset. But it's not going to be a how-to. I'm not going to teach you how to fix and flip. I'm not going to teach you how to buy and hold. I'm not going to teach you how to raise money because there's a lot of people out there teaching that. What I am going to teach you is how to start unfucking your mindset, how to unwind that, how to understand where all these thoughts come from. Why do you think the way that you think? Why do you feel that way? Now, let me ask you, Martine, and, please be honest here. And I know that I felt it. Have you ever seen somebody post something on Facebook and you automatically get jealous? Even though you don't particularly dislike that person, even though you actually kind of like that person, and they put a $20,000 deal or a $50,000 deal, and you're like, man, damn it, I wish so.
Yes.
and if we're being honest, like, dude, I do that sometimes too, and I gotta catch myself and I gotta check myself. Dude, why the fuck am I doing this? And this is part of what we're going to be talking about in the program. Where do your thoughts come from? Where does your programming come from? Why do you feel the way that you feel? Because it's a way to start unraveling all the bullshit that was put into your mind from a very young age where you weren't even able to defend it.
Right. It's like, sounds like therapy.
You know what? Honestly, in a way, it is. And I do this for two reasons. I do this because I want other people to go down the journey that I've been through, because you follow me on social media. I mean, you know that I'm one of the happiest, genuinely happiest motherfuckers that you know. And by the way, if you happen to know somebody happier than me, please introduce me, because I need to find out what the fuck they're doing.
Right.
Because, like, seriously. And this is one of the things that I told you, like, I really don't attend a lot of real estate events, but the ones that I do, I'm speaking at. And one of the things that I hear a lot from the other speakers is, you're one of the few people that I know that is the exact same way in real life as what you are on social media, as where I see you do this, and that. Like, you're always this way. This is never going to stop. So I found it extremely helpful. The second reason why I'm doing this is because every single time that I put this out there, it reminds me of what I need to be doing. The principles and the concepts that I'm going to go over, Unfuck Your Mindset, isn't going to be anything that you haven't heard before. Probably. Maybe a few things in there you're like, I've never heard it explained that way. But for the most part, probably is not going to be things that you've never heard before. However, we're going to be working on these over and over and over and over and over and over and over, because that's where the real magic comes in. That's where the real growth comes in. And I always point back to, like, sports. If you look at any, let's say Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan is a super famous basketball player, super talented, probably arguably the best basketball player of all time. When you saw them interview him, they all say the same thing. You got to work on your footwork. You got to work on your dribbling. You got to work on the basics, on the fundamentals. Get so goddamn good with the fundamentals that you are now elevated to a next level. So me doing this on a weekly basis, going over this, talking this with people, resharing these lessons that I learned from my mentor, which I go every single fucking Tuesday. I'm at my mentor's place learning something else about success, growth, mindset, whatever. I keep on rehearing it over and over again, which helps me. Because as I mentioned, guys, even the billionaires that I know, they still have struggles mentally. It's a never-ending process. You don't get to a certain level and then you're done and you're made and you never have to worry about your mindset again. Everybody has doubts. Everybody has fears. Everybody has limitations. And just like the person in the example about me teaching them how to wholesale, where they're like, I know that. We all do that to a certain degree at a certain level.
Right. So what are some things that, you have done to help you with shifting your mindset?
Oh my God. So the biggest thing that I did was I had to accept that my mindset was the problem. Now, we can all admit in one way or the other that we are our own worst enemy. Like I can talk to you. So Martine, I know that you're in a relationship, and I know that this is not the case. So this is just hypothetical. But let's say that your boyfriend starts yelling at you, you stupid motherfucker, blah, 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 blah. Well, he can only speak to you. You will only let him speak to you if you speak to yourself that way or worse. Because if
Right.
you don't speak to yourself that way, you're like, hey, calm down, dude. Get the hell out of here. Like, no,
Right.
you don't talk to me that way. Nobody talks to me that way. We're not in a relationship no more. Get the hell out.
Right.
However, we are our own worst enemy. So nobody talks to us as bad as we talk to ourselves.
Mm.
Now, because of that, we can understand that there's something wrong up here.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we are all jacked up. We're all fucked up in the head. Every single one of us actually admit that. We start getting defensive. We start getting, no, you don't know me. You don't know what I'm talking about. You don't know what I've been. You don't know what you're talking about. You're full of shit, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So the first thing is that I had to learn that I was my worst enemy.
Right.
I had to learn, you know what, man? I'm working hard. I'm doing everything. And somehow I keep on holding myself back.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I should have got that deal, but I fucked it up. Nobody else fucked it up. I fucked it up by not turning in some paperwork on time. That was the first thing, that understanding that I had a bad mindset. The second thing, which is the first concept of personal development, every single thing that happens in your life and to your life is your fault. Good, bad, or indifferent.
That's a hard pill to swallow.
So, for example, like I said, I know that you're with somebody. You guys been together for a while. So one of your girlfriends comes up, and you guys are at a party. Your girlfriend comes up and says, "Oh my God, your man, like, he's such a really good man. He's handsome. He's a hard worker. He's very, like, dedicated. Like, man, like, dude, you good job." You'll sit there and be like, "Yeah, hell yeah, I attracted him, But let's say that dude ends up cheating on you. Or let's say that dude ends up talking to you like the example that we used before, and then you continue letting him.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to take fucking, you cheated on me. Yeah, I attracted that person that lied to me. So unfortunately, we as human beings do not know how to take personal responsibility for the things that go bad in our life. And part of personal development is that you have to accept that you attracted all the good, but you've also attracted all the bad into your life. And that was a huge, huge, huge change in my life. Because as you mentioned earlier, that's a very tough pill to swallow. Like, you have to admit, okay, well, that person that screwed me out of money, it was my fault. And there was something that I did to attract that person. There was something that I did to keep them there. You know, that one time that I had that gut feeling that I shouldn't be doing business with that person, but I ignored it. You know, I saw the way that he talked to this person, but I didn't think much of it.
Okay, cool. Alrighty. Well, yeah, like you were saying, that's a tough pill to swallow, that you accepting that all the bad stuff in your life is your fault.
Yeah, and as I said, we're all very willing to accept that all the good stuff is our fault, but we're not able to accept the bad stuff. Now, the problem with not accepting the bad stuff being your fault is that you'll never take ownership of that, which means that you'll never do something different, and which means that it's going to more than likely happen again. And this is one of the reasons why we see people living the same year of their life over and over and over. So they might get older, but they don't really grow. They continue to, and if it's not one thing, it's another. So they, one headache here, one headache there, one headache there. And it's just bullshit after bullshit after bullshit, because they don't learn to say, hey, you know what? I attracted this bad. So if you have a business partner that screwed you out of money, and you don't take ownership, and you say, nah, fuck that motherfucker. He lied to me. He did this, he did that. Well, once again, you allowed that. You attracted that person into your life. You allowed that person into your life. You let that person continue working with you. You saw something at some point that kind of pointed and said you shouldn't be here, but you chose to ignore it.
Right.
So yeah, maybe that person did lie to you. Maybe that person did forge your signature. Maybe they did something that you had no control over. However, just like your boyfriend that you're so proud of, you also attracted that shit. So that was a huge, huge, huge lesson for me.
Right.
And then the third thing, which I think is really the most vital when it comes to this, and really the reason why I'm doing this show, I believe it's the second episode where I'm going to be talking about this. So the first one was just kind of an intro, who am I and what I've done, where I came from. But the second one, I'm going to be talking about the process of manifestation. And the process of manifestation states that your thoughts create your feelings lead to your actions, and your actions lead to your results.
Mm-hmm.
And we all know that actions lead to results.
Mm-hmm.
The problem with that is that actions and results, that's the outer game. That's what everybody can see. So yeah, you know, you go to these events and they're like, here, send out more letters, knock on more doors, cold call more people, drive for dollars longer. Yeah, okay, I get it, because there is a correlation between actions and results. However, the one part that nobody ever talks about is what happens before the actions.
Mm-hmm.
So let me put it to you in a way that you and your audience will understand, because once again, most of your audience is in real estate.
Mm-hmm.
There was some point in your past where you saw something, read something, heard something that sparked the thought in your mind about real estate.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever that was. I don't care. It could have been a fucking late infomercial. It could have been your best friend saying, hey, check this shit out. Whatever.
Right.
Something sparked that thought. Now, you have many, many, many thoughts in your head all the fucking time.
Mm-hmm.
The thoughts don't really count. They're not really, thoughts are real, the ones that we make real by putting energy to it. So, you know, you might be thinking, oh, my fucking foot itches right now. God, I wish this motherfucker would shut the fuck up. Man, did I put the chicken in the oven right now? Whatever. All these thoughts are just, eh. However, there was a certain thought that popped in your head about real estate. Now, that thought created some type of emotion, some type of feeling. Now you were like, man, you know what, dude, I've been talking about doing something. Like, for reals, Martine, like, shit, we're not getting younger. This is, you know, so-and-so's doing it, and they're not even as fucking smart as I am. I know for a fact that I can do it. That feeling then sparked an action, whatever that action was. You didn't just take the action out of the fucking nilly bitty blue. It started with the thought, and that thought led to a feeling. Now, if you change that in a different aspect, every single part of your life has happened that way. There was a particular thought that came over you. That thought generated feelings. Those feelings pushed you enough for an action. How many times have you done something that you're not proud of? How many times how many times have you blown up on your boyfriend over some stupid shit that you should have just let go? Like, exactly, right? How did that happen? You thought something happened. You thought he said something. You thought he did something. That thought led to a feeling. Well, this motherfucker don't respect me. He doesn't do this. Who do you think I am? He thinks I'm some fucking idiot, blah, blah, blah. Which that feeling then forced the action out of you. And you said something, and then you got that fucking result.
Right.
It starts with the thought. If you retract the process of manifestation, it starts with the thinking. And thinking and your feelings, you can't see thoughts, you can't see feelings. You can definitely see actions, and you can definitely see results. The thoughts are the inner world. The actions and the results are the outer world. And the way that my mentor teaches me is that your inner creates your outer. It's what's invisible that creates what's visible. And shouldn't it behoove you, if that's the case, to work on the invisible, to work on your thoughts and your feelings? But most people only focus on the actions. And which is, like I said, it's cool. You go and you pay some guy to teach you how to short sell. Well, of course you want to know how to short sell. Of course you want to know what to do first, what to do second, what to do third, whatever.
Right.
Problem, and the reason why most people, and my opinion from the people that I was teaching and the people that I've seen out there buy these courses and stuff, the reason why most of them don't ever follow through is because their thoughts and their emotions are not in check. They have no idea. They talk themselves out of it. They bullshit themselves. I know that you hold together different you guys do like meetups and shit over there, right? And in those meetups, I'm assuming that you have newbies that come in who want to learn the business. And in those meetups, you may have found a guy or a girl that you resonate with. You're like, I'm going to give this person a chance and I'm going to help them out. I feel like they might do something, right? And then you're trying to help them out and you're holding their hand and they're like, I just can't do it. I'm just not smart like you. I just don't have it. And you're like, what the fuck are you talking about? You're way better off than I was when I started.
Right.
It doesn't matter what you say and or think of them. It matters what they think and how that makes them feel. And for whatever reason, if they feel that type of way, there's nothing you can do or say to change them from feeling that way. So it all goes back to our thought process, because your thoughts lead to your feelings lead to your actions, and your actions lead to your results. And that's known as the process of manifestation.
So what would you say to someone, because I think a lot of a feeling that a lot of people have, especially when they first start off, is the feeling of fear. They don't know what's going to happen. They feel fear. What are some suggestions that you would give someone that they want to overcome that because they want to move forward with their actions and results?
So I have a saying, fuck fear. Of course I do. This is something that I remind myself at all times. Fuck fear. Listening to this radio show many years ago, the guy was going off the air. He was talking about how he became a radio DJ. At that point, some guy was doing a contest. This other guy who already was a radio DJ was doing a contest, and he challenged somebody to a boxing match. And it was like some whatever, right? He said, if anybody can teach me how to box, that would be really appreciated. That would really help me in this thing that I'm doing. The guy shows up, and the dude said the security guard doesn't let him in. Then he goes in through the side door, and the security guard doesn't let him in. So at this point, he's walking back, and he's like, man, I'm kind of done. Like, I tried, all right, whatever. He sees that the back door is open, and he gets this gut feeling that just scares the crap out of him. And for whatever reason, he walked in through the back. He was able to go up to the studio. He met the guy. From there, he taught him how to box. From there, the guy found out that he was funny, had him on the radio, and then eventually that guy had his own radio show, and now he's a celebrity in Hollywood, right? The guy said before going off the air, it gave me butterflies and it scared me. And I realized that day that if you just do the stuff that scares you, you're going to reach heights that you've never seen. Right. So after that, I kept on reminding myself, fuck fear. Like, it doesn't really exist. The definition of fear is false evidence appearing. Well, that's an acronym, false evidence appearing real. The definition of fear is the anticipation of pain. You fear something that you think is going to hurt at some point. So the reason why people don't do something because they're stuck with fear is they fear that failure, if they happen to fail in that particular thing, is going to hurt so bad. And they don't want to go through that pain. So rather not even take the action than to go through that pain.
Right.
I would, like I said, first thing is fuck fear. Fear does not exist. It is not real. Just like the acronym says, it's false evidence appearing real. And like the definition says, it's the anticipation. It hasn't happened yet. It's supposed to happen at some point in the future, but it hasn't happened. And it may not happen. One of the other things was that a mentor of mine taught me the wolf in your head is worse than the wolf in real life. So most people don't do it because they think it's going to hurt. And they think that wolf, whatever that is. So let's call it door knocking, right? You send somebody, hey man, here's a lead list. You can go door knock here. These are all scrubbed. Like, these are all good leads. You can go get them. They won't do it for the most part because they're fear of rejection. They're afraid of somebody telling them no. And they're afraid of how embarrassing that's going to be, how much it's going to hurt, how much discomfort it's going to bring to them.
Right.
The wolf in your mind is worse than the wolf in real life. Meaning that however bad it is, it's not going to be as bad as you think.
That's so true. I have a real life example that happened today for me. I went to this auction, and it's an auction of all these commercial properties. An investor here got in trouble. I don't know if he classified himself as an investor or not, but he got in trouble, so he had to auction off all his properties. So I'm going in, and I know the investor community in this area pretty well. Like, I network a lot. I know pretty much all the big players here. And anyway, so I go in here and I'm like really nervous. And I'm like, why am I so nervous? So I'm going in, I'm really nervous and the reason I was feeling this way is because my intent to go to this auction was to network with people, was for me to talk to people that I had never that I never met before. I wanted to make some connections. So anyway, in my head, I'm like, whew, I'm nervous. Like, I don't know how people are going to receive me, blah, 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 right? So I get in and I'm like, you know what? My saying is, if you can't beat fear, do it scared. So I just do a lot of stuff scared. So I started talking to people. And as I started talking to more and more people, I was like, man, this ain't half bad. Like, I'm talking to people and I'm realizing that what was I afraid of? Like, half of the people that I was talking to, I was more experienced than them. And like, I'm talking to them and it's just getting easier and easier. And everybody's like, oh, well, thanks for coming over. I'm really glad I met you. And I was like, why was I even scared? Like
so you're experiencing what I'm talking about. You know, the wolf in your mind, whatever you thought, whatever reason you were scared, mostly, you know, I may not be good enough. They may tell me to fuck off because I'm not as experienced as they are or whatever. It was all made up. It's not even real. It didn't happen. You're anticipating something that might hurt, you know, because that might bruise your ego if some guy would have looked at you and said, dude, get the fuck out of here. Like, you don't fit. Like, you're not even close. You don't even have this type of money. Get the fuck out of here. Did that happen? No. And even if that happened, it probably wouldn't have been as bad as your mind is imagining. And you have to understand that your mind is made up of two parts. It's made up of your ego mind and your higher self. And your ego mind is that chatter that you hear all the time. Your ego mind is also referred to as your reptilian mind. And what that means is that this is the part of your mind that runs on instinct. This is the part of the mind that does what it has to do to survive. You don't sit there and think about having to breathe every time you breathe in and breathe out. You don't think about pumping blood. You don't think about your heart beating. You don't think about anything. Even like stuff like attraction and, you know, sexual, like you get horny sometimes. Like, this is stuff that you don't control. This is stuff that is your reptilian mind is doing it. This is why you think babies are cute. This is why guys look at girls with big butts and big tits, because unconsciously we don't understand that, but this is our way for our minds to make sure that we're reproducing and our species is surviving. I say that because the other part of the big part of that mind is fear. It tries to keep you safe by pointing out everything that could go wrong. And part of pointing everything out that could go wrong is that it always over exaggerates and it makes it seem like this big old thing when in reality it's really not. And you said something that I was taught, which is act in spite of fear. Because you could have fell into the trap that most people do. You did, because of your experience, you understood that you have to act in spite of fear. However, somebody new might not have think that way. So let's go back to the process of manifestation. They had a thought, hey, they're going to laugh at me. They're not going to accept me. That led to a feeling, oh, that scares me. Oh, I don't know about that. Oh, maybe. That eventually led to an action or a lack of action, which then will eventually lead to the results. However, you were smart enough to be like, hey, I know that I'm scared, but I'm going to do it anyway. Do it scared. Like, it doesn't really matter. Like, I'm just going to do it anyway. And that's another thing that I was taught is act in spite of fear. Because as I said, the wolf in your mind is worse than the wolf in real life. So if I am looking to hit on a woman and I go hit on her, and now before I do, my mind is like, oh, well, what if she says no? What if she says this? You know, she might not even just say no, but she might embarrass you or laugh at you, or it's going to hurt, or it's going to suck, whatever. I can look at that and I can be scared and I can still act in spite of it. Understanding that even if she turns me down, it's not going to be as bad as I'm imagining in my head. You know, whatever, and whichever way it happens, oh, no, thank you. Sorry, you know, I got a boyfriend, or you're just not my type, or whatever. It doesn't fucking matter. It's not as bad as we make it seem in our head. So that's some tips that I would give if you're currently struggling with fear. Understand that it's not real. Understand that it hasn't happened yet, and it probably won't happen. Just like whatever the fuck you were fearing in that meeting, it probably won't happen. And by the way, it hasn't happened yet. So even if it does happen, that's in the future. Like let
Right.
future you worry about it.
Right.
You're good right now. And then
Right.
third thing is act in spite of fear. So
Mm-hmm.
even if something scares you, and that's where the biggest growth is at. I was just in the Philippines, I mean, in Thailand, like I mentioned, and
Mm-hmm.
I've been to Southeast Asia, and their, how do I say this? Their traffic lanes are like suggestions. They're kind of like guidelines for where you're kind of supposed to go.
Right.
And they don't have one vehicle per lane. Like, that's not the way it works over there. Reason why I'm saying that is that I rented a motorbike.
Mm-hmm.
I was looking at this and I'm just like, man, I can pay taxis all day because price is cheap. I got money, not a big
Mm-hmm.
deal. But, I really want to ride one of those motorbikes.
Mm-hmm.
And I've never ridden one of those before. And as I said, traffic is weird. They drive on the different side of the road. So their right turns are wide and left turns are short. And, it's just backwards from what we're thinking.
Mm-hmm.
It scared me so much that I said, you know what? Fuck you. Fuck fear. I'm going to do this shit. And next day I rented a fucking bike.
Mm-hmm.
And I literally went out at like 4:35 in the morning when there wasn't a lot of traffic and just
Mm-hmm.
learned how to drive this motherfucker.
Right.
And for the rest of the time I was driving this motorbike. Once I got past the initial fear of like, because once again, cars just cut up on your ass. People just
Right.
pull out of the fucking thing. Like it's so different out there. And it
Right.
scared the shit out of me. Past the first day of me sitting there and like just, oh my God, I got to be extra careful. I started to relax. I started to give a little bit more gas to the motor. And all of a sudden, I felt the freedom of my mind just going while I'm driving through this beautiful island, going up and down these curvy mountain roads, just in my own world. Oh, there's a car coming. All right, cool. Oh, there's somebody pulling off. Perfect. Oh, yeah. God, the level of growth that happened
Mm-hmm.
between Monday and Tuesday, Monday being the first day that I got to the island, Tuesday being the day that I rented the motorbike, was tremendous and will
Right.
help me in way further aspects than just riding around in that island, because it
Right.
reminds me to act in spite of fear. It reminds me that the wolf in my head is worse than the real life. It reminds me that most of the shit that I'm scared about isn't gonna fucking happen anyway.
Right. Right. I think you bring up a great point, because on the other side of fear is freedom. You allow your fear to control you by not doing certain things. But if you just, face the fear, do it, you're like, whew, what was I scared of?
And this is why I say that I am one of the happiest motherfuckers that you know,
Mm-hmm.
because fear doesn't really bother me that way.
Mm-hmm.
I have gotten to a point where, I mean, you follow me online, you know that I carry a little stuffed monkey wherever I travel to.
Right.
I just don't give a shit. I don't care. If you laugh at me, that's fine. If you think that's stupid, it's okay. If you're like, oh my God, what type of childish individual would do that? That's okay too.
Right.
When I stopped letting fear dictate my life, all of a sudden I got happier. All of a sudden I found out that I like to sing and dance all the time. All of a sudden that I found out that it doesn't really matter. Like I'm literally, and you can picture this, but I'm literally in the plane waiting to get my seat. I'm like, and this is not just because I'm trying to get reaction from people. This is what I do to make me happy. And I'm walking down the street and I'm like doing this whole airplane shit like you do as a kid. I'm like touching everything. I'm like seeing everything. I'm like, ooh, what's that? Oh, okay. Well, I'm done talking to you. Bye. Like a fucking kid, because fear doesn't play a part in that. And the one thing that I've noticed, especially with the monkey, is the fact that people don't know how to take it at first. Then they accept it. Once they accept it, they pretty much open up to me and in one way or the other tell me, I wish that I could be as free as you. I wish that I could use, and a lot of these people have some type of stuffed animal that they have in their bed. They just don't show anybody.
Right.
They're like, I wish that I had that freedom that you do. Just like you said, on the other side of fear is freedom. This is why, and I've shared before, I went to Thailand, and I know other people that have been to Thailand, but I fucking promise you that nobody traveled the way that I did. Nobody had the experiences like I did because everybody's too afraid. Everybody's too afraid to go through the alleyways. Everybody's too afraid to eat in that little shack down the street. Everybody's too afraid to just get lost somewhere. What do you didn't buy a JR rail pass when you went to Japan? How did you find your way around? I don't fucking know, but I did.
Right.
It scared me. And as I continue doing these adventures that I like to call them, because I don't vacation, I travel. And when I travel, I go there to find myself. And I purposely get lost in a country where I don't know anybody, nor do I know the language.
Right.
That allows us, oh my God, such an amount of freedom to come on the other side once you get past that initial bullshit chatter that is fear.
Right, right. Well, if you don't have anyone else listening to the podcast, I'm definitely tuning in. Because you've been preaching today, and I'm like, man, I really like this. Nobody talks about this. Nobody talks about
this. And this is what I've noticed from, as I said, I've been speaking, especially these last 2 years, I've been doing a lot of public speaking. I've been asked to speak at a lot of different real estate events, mainly real estate events. And I sit there and I pay attention and nobody's talking about this. My coach that I hired for the podcast, she actually, this is what she does. She starts people's podcasts. She's been doing this. She sat down and said, dude, you don't even know the amount of podcasts that I've listened to. Nobody is talking like this. And definitely nobody's talking about this. Right. So yeah, it's going to be on an amazing journey. And I forgot to mention, but I'm putting this out there. If you resonate with this, I am not only launching a podcast, but I'm also launching an online program where I walk people step by step as to how I was able to overcome the mental issues and how I was able to unfuck my mindset. And it's actually called Unfuck Your Mindset. You can go to unfuckyourmindset.com. Right. I was building the site today. Either way, though, this is going to be something that I'm launching in the beginning of the year, just like when I launch my podcast. And if you are interested in unfucking your mindset and you're finally ready to stop yourself, whatever you're doing, whether you're in real estate or not, whether you're a seasoned investor or not, we all struggle with our mindset. We all struggle with that. So yeah, man, I've known for a fact, and this is something that I've been pushing back on purpose. I honestly wanted to be at a certain place in my life before I start teaching people how to be in that place. And 2019 has basically shown everybody that I'm definitely at that fucking. I mean, I must have traveled for pleasure over 3 months this year. Just because that's what the fuck I wanted to fucking do, and that's what makes me happy, and that's, to me, is what freedom is. So yeah, more than glad. As I said, subscribe. That's going to be sometime in the beginning of January is when officially we're going to launch the podcast, and then the program Unfuck Your Mindset, which should be able to find it at unfuckyourmindset.com. And that is going to be launching in the first week of January also. We're really aiming to help people not just say new year, new me, but actually create a new you.
Right.
And through the process of manifestation, it shows you that the real you, the new you, starts in here. So all the actions that you're taking, those are good and keep on taking them. But if you really want change, like everlasting change, and more than that, but true, genuine happiness, it all fucking starts up in this little piece. Like these 6 inches right here between your fucking ears, right over here.
Right.
This thing can create heaven on earth, or it can create a living hell.
That's true. That is so true. And you've dropped a lot of gems and bombs, and rewind it and write it down. But is there anything else you want to leave the people with before we end this?
I want you guys to understand that this is a marathon, not a sprint. And the one thing that we have in common as humans, especially most people out there, is that we're always worried about the how. How do I do this? How do I do this? What letters are you using? What videos do you watch? What books do you read? What seminars do you go to? And none of that shit really, really matters. What really matters is the inside of your mind. how you conduct yourself internally. Because with the wrong mindset, I can hand you success in a silver platter and you're going to fuck it up. With the right mindset, you can be in the most fucked up situation and you'll find a way to make it amazing. Right. And this is why I always joke around, but I mean this 100%. I have the Midas touch. Everything I touch turns into fucking gold. Not because I'm amazing, not because I'm skilled, not because I went to Harvard, not because I have whatever. All because I have the right mindset that I can see past the bullshit. And I say this because the mindset game is the long game. I understand as well as you do, Marcin, that if you are brand new and you have $1,000 in your bank account, some guy says, hey, I can teach you how to make your first real estate deal in 90 days. And then I come in and teach you, hey, man, I'm going to teach you about your mindset. You may or may not make money for the first 2 years, but I promise you that if you learn this shit, once again, go back to the Karate Kid. If Mr. Miyagi would have told him, hey, you're going to be waxing and washing cars, you're going to be sanding my floors, you're going to be painting my house, and by the way, that's how you learn karate, that kid would have been like, fuck you. I say that because unfortunately, as I said, it's a lot more appealing to say, hey, this guy's going to teach me how to wholesale, this guy's going to teach me how to fix and flip, this girl's going to teach me how to buy and hold. That's more appealing. However, that's the short game. I'm talking about the long game. I'm talking about the rest of your fucking life game. I'm talking about not just money success, but happiness success, relationship success, and just overall freedom. Right. And if that's one thing that I can leave with you guys is that focus on that. Because why do you want to be a successful wholesaler? To make money. Why the fuck do you want money? So you can buy things. Why do you want to buy those things? Because you think they bring you happiness. Why do you think they bring you happiness? Because that's what you think your freedom is at. And at the end of the day, most people chase the money and end up just chasing money all day. Right. I know a lot of people that make a lot more money than I do that are nowhere near as happy as I am. Right. I know them. I know this guy who makes $50,000 a month passively and messaged me on Facebook while I was in Thailand and said, I wish I had the time to travel like you do. $50,000 a month passively, and he's still sitting in his own fucking prison that he built. Think about the long game, guys, not just the short term, I'm going to make money. Think about the long game. And that takes a long time of doing it over and over and over. So that's one thing that I can lead you. Like I'm telling you guys, I can do whatever the fuck I want. If I drop real estate tomorrow, whatever the fuck I pick up is going to work. Because I have the correct mindset. But I've also put in that long, many years of working on myself internally. Way more time. I mean, I would say it's 90% me working on myself, 10% or 5% real estate, and 5% fucking off.
Well, thanks for being on the podcast today, VP. I really appreciate it. You had a very powerful message to share with people today. And I'm just really glad that you were able to be on and share it. So thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me on here. This is good that we have it on video. By the way, if anybody's wondering, that was medicinal marijuana. I am in the state of Arizona. I do have a medical card, so it's legal here. So, shut the fuck up. And if you're interested in following my adventures, follow me on Instagram at Cashflow Creator. Because Martine, I always post my stories, especially when I'm traveling. I want to bring people into my world. I want to see what true freedom is. I want you to see what happens when you walk into that alleyway. It's not as scary as you think. It's actually a whole different world out there full of amazing shit. So this is why I put it on my story. So if you guys are interested in seeing that and just my everyday life that I'm constantly sharing, like today I went to my mentor's class for my mastermind meeting. So I posted that. I post notes. I post all kinds of shit on there. Follow me at Cashflow Creator. But Martine, thank you so much for having me on here. I really, really, really do wish that people take this information and really understand where I'm coming from and really understand that this is the way that you can create long-term happiness, not just long-term wealth, but long-term happiness. So really, really thank you for having me on the show once again.
Yeah, thanks for being on. But until next time, Do It Movement listeners, see ya!
Do it!
Thanks, guys, for checking out the Do It Movement podcast this week. I hope we inspired you to make some power moves now. If you haven't already, make sure you follow us for more info on our guests and new episodes at Do It Movement Pod on Instagram and at doitmovementpod.com. Make sure as you apply some of this knowledge, you tag us along the way by adding #DoItMovement so that we can recognize the change makers. See you next week.